So my name is Dar.Gutierrez, or you can pronounce it the way my mom says it, Dar.Gutierrez. Today I'm going to talk about BMT experience 2020, COVID, how I survived, what helped me, what I learned, and how to better yourself as an airman or a future coming one if you've been to MEPS, talk to a recruiter. I hope this video comes to you and it helps you, because I definitely wish someone went in more depth for me as much as I want you guys to learn. So in BMT, I made something called a Bmt Bible. So I made it because I thought one of my family members was joining, and I knew I also wanted to make YouTube videos, so I kind of wanted to make something I would remember, because I have a good memory, but to an extent. So I made this so that whoever could read whatever I wrote could really expect what's coming for them in BMT. Things they need to know, things you need to know to survive BMT. I'm going to start with basically the first thing. You're going to learn a lot in BMT, and I mean absolutely a ton of stuff. They really try and break you to build you back up and shape you into a better individual, but it all comes with how much you're willing to learn. Are you willing to shape yourself as well? If you come in with the mindset that no, like, it's not for me, military can't break me, I'm only here for myself, I'm here to better myself, get out, get the money, get whatever, strive for myself, get the education, get out of there, change it immediately. It is a concept that you learn and you'll carry for the rest of your life. You learn things that really shape you into an individual you want to be. But you need to be willing to learn and be open-minded. Everything, number one on my list actually, is everything gets better, 100%. It will suck, especially the first 3 weeks, that everyone's just yelling at you, especially 0 week. When 0 week is over, you're like, 0 week? Week 1 hasn't even started. So it's kind of like a bummer to hear that 0 week, where it's the most yelling of your entire life, like, you breathe, you're wrong, you eat, you're wrong, like, you do anything, you're wrong. It's what they say, your sergeants say, what your MTI says, and that's it. Like, you're wrong if you do anything other than what they say. As long as you do what they tell you to do, how to do it, and you follow it, you have no issues. When I first arrived there, actually, we all came on a bus. We traveled from airport to airport, plane to plane to plane, and turns out I actually got stuck with almost 50 guys on a flight. All of them, some of them being in my brother flight. But I was the only female on there. I was really nervous because I wanted to meet some females that were coming in, but got stuck with all males on a whole plane, majority going all to BMT, and just getting ready to start our careers, basically. The start is just the start. As you go through in your Air Force career, it becomes a long journey, but it's one that you'll enjoy. But getting there and on the plane, getting the ticket, everything felt so surreal. Like, wow, this is happening. After talking to my recruiter for so long, I'm actually here. It's the excitement, the adrenaline, the thrill of you just finally getting there is so surreal. Like, packing your bags, hiccup, saying bye to your family, and knowing that you're not going to see them for a while. And with the coronavirus, you actually end up not seeing them for 6 months. BMT, they couldn't come to your ceremony, your coin ceremony. Can't even see them in tech school. But not to get off track, that shapes you. It 100% shapes you. Finally getting there, you get off the bus, and I remember one thing that will never leave my mind is the bus driver. The bus driver who dropped us off, and it was the last taste of your civilian life that you'll ever get, is someone being actually nice to you. And it was definitely that bus driver. That bus driver said, okay guys, I drop off people weekly at BMT, and it's an honor to do that. But I want you to not forget why you came here, to never give up, and always do what you're told, how you're told to do it, and something else I forgot. But I just remember him giving us those words of aspirations and just really motivating us to keep going on, even though we were really scared. It was like nighttime when we arrived, and as soon as we arrived there, we had people yelling at us to get off the bus, like, get off, all right guys, get off. And we were like, oh crap, like, holy crap, like, this is it. I was like, why did you sign yourself up for yelling and this? And you're like, you know what, tough it out. You gotta remember why you came here. As soon as we got off yelling, immediately they were like, stand straight, look forward. We're all lined up, seeing all these women that are also going at the same exact time that you are, and it just being like, wow, you did this. It makes you no different from anybody else. You did something that was a really big movement in your life, but also a big movement in hundreds of other people's lives. We circled around, got our gear. It was like a backpack, a water bottle, flip-flops, shower shoes technically, and shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, and something else I forgot. There was a bunch of other things we collected. As soon as we got it, we all lined up, sat in silence, crisscross applesauce, very spread out from each other, COVID coming up, wearing a black mask that was immediately issued to us. Everyone was wearing a mask. We sat down, crisscross applesauce, very spread out from each other, ate I remembered it was like a pack of Oreos, but no one ate those because they were like, I want to be healthy. I came here to change my life, my diet. There was a really cold sandwich. Mine had turkey in it, and I don't eat meat. And it was like this mayonnaise that tasted disgusting. Mustard, pretzels, I believe a juice. Threw the whole thing away, basically. There was no point of eating that. As soon as we were done eating, they took your phones. They told you to put it in a box. Your phone, you had to label it a certain number. It was this like tag they gave you on your shirt, and it said like 3 Alpha 1 or 3A1. And everyone had different numbers from what I saw. Only like 2 people had like the same number as me, and we all got like separated into different groups. And it was just weird, like seeing everyone and then just dispersing basically. And we went upstairs, and with the 2 other people who had also my number, they led me to a room that was also said 3A1, 3 Alpha 1. So obviously those were going to be people I was living with for 2.5 months. Finally, when I got inside, there were girls all in there already. They were so helpful. Coming inside, there was a bunch of girls, even though it was nighttime and a lot of them wanted to sleep. People came to like help me and just like really get me adjusted and packing and stuff like that. It was weird. The dormitory was long, bunch of beds, but every other bed was skipped due to COVID. And I don't know, it was something that I was like, wow, this is going to be different, living in a room with so many people. There was a ton of beds. And I was like, wow, what is the next morning going to be like? After I unpacked all my stuff, that's where we continue with BMT. It was a long introduction about how we got there and how to stay motivated and everything. But basically, things you need to know is things get better. You will have wingmen for you. You will have people who are there to help you. But one thing I recommend before you go into BMT is definitely, and I mean 100%, write down a little couple of sentences, paragraph, if you want to write a whole piece of paper of why did you come to the Air Force? Why you are here? What motivates you? What lights you up every day? Why you do what you do? I think that's what helped me the most. Our sergeant, or MTI actually recommended that we did that. And I reading that almost every night definitely motivated me to keep going. When it came to my PT test, running, I read that every time I had to do anything that felt mentally challenging. That 100% helped, and I recommend that you do it, whether it's your little sister that's back at home, whether it's your mom, whether it's not looking back at the past and where you came from and how difficult that was, your upbringings, or your grandpa who passed away, or whatever it is that motivates you. Write that down and put it on a paper. Bring it to you at BMT, and remember that every day. Don't quit. Don't quit at all. Things do get better. The sun shines on the every day. It's beautiful, and I think BMT makes you more appreciative of everything, especially not having your phone for 2 months or 2.5. It's the most that you're really just at your most humble, and you're at the most appreciative in your whole Air Force career, probably even your whole life. Your family probably even asked you before you left, you think you can do your phone without 2 months? You're always on social media. And I'm always not always on social media, but for the most part, yes, because I love photography, I love film, I love to model people, take photographs of people, take photographs of nature, film nature. It's just one of my hobbies. But you'll survive without your phone, trust me. But it makes you more appreciative in the aspect that you don't see your family for so long. And even when you get like a minute on the phone just to hear your family's voice, it is the most like beautiful thing ever. It makes you realize that, wow, your loved ones keep you going. And due to COVID, we couldn't have church services like actually in person. So whether you're Buddhist, Muslim, or Christian, it's a different feeling if you're even slightly religious, not being able to actually go to the church yourself and having to watch it on a TV screen that they provide in this thing called a day room. It's just like a room that everyone's able to go to whenever they need like a certain meeting or whatever, when your sergeant needs to address something or whatever. It was a different feeling when you weren't able to go to church for 2.5 months and not be there. But when you were able to watch it on the television, it brought people to tears. I remember me and 40 other girls crying, or 30, crying in the room, listening to the message, whatever religion you are, and it bringing us to absolute tears. That's something that I will never forget. The phone calls we were able to get, whether it was one of our families passing away, my condolences if you've had someone pass away from COVID, but it really brought something out of you of just absolute humbleness, just being so appreciative and really feeling like you really have enough in life, even with how the bare minimum you had at BMT, that you really have it good, regardless of how bad you had it in life. BMT really makes you appreciate everything. Another thing I forgot to include are these protein bars. It becomes a form of currency at BMT because it's the only form of sweet you'll get besides peanut butter. But these protein bars, I used it to make a positive example through BMT. Instead of looking at the days like saying, oh, I have 60 more days to go, I did a countdown for me and my team, my flight, and did like 59 protein bars left, 58 protein bars left, 43 protein bars left. And every day it motivated everyone in my flight to keep going every day, to look forward to the protein bars, because it was really like the only form of happiness we could get was these chocolate protein bars. So by looking at it as not like dreading the days coming up, we looked at it as a protein bar countdown, which really helped everyone kind of look forward to the days. So that was another thing that I did for my flight that really kept everyone's head up. It really even made people so happy they made even like little posters and a countdown they drew of protein bars to look forward to the days they get to see their families. Never move your fingers, hands, head, or anything at attention. So that's one thing you need to learn. I remember the first day I got there and a girl getting chewed out in front of hundreds of people for moving her head at attention. She went to go look at the boy flight, and she was in my flight, actually. She was standing like maybe 3 people in front of me. And we're lined up in formation, very proper. And she had moved her head like this and looked at some of the boys who were marching and getting also yelled at. And at that moment, you know, a song that played, you know you fucked up, like that song, that's what was playing at that very exact moment. She moved her head and the sergeant was like, what did you just do? What did you just do? Screaming at her on the top of her lungs and saying, did you just move your head? Did you just move your head? I said, stand at attention. You don't move. You don't move. And he was like, you know what? Go ask that flight to be a part of their team. It's a guy's flight. And he was like, go ahead, run. I want you to sprint over there and ask that MTI to be a part of their team. And she was like standing there all still and everything because she's getting scared. She's getting yelled at in her face, spat at. Not actually spat at, but, you know, just like that close. With his mask on, obviously. And she runs over there because he basically told her to, and you have to follow their rules. And she asked them, can I be a part of your team? And that MTI yells at her and goes, go back, I don't want you. Go back, I don't want you. And then my MTI looks at her and then says, I don't want you. You go over there and ask. And then she's just going back and forth that no MTI wants her, no flight wants her. And then finally he's like, hop back in line, get back in line. And she's bawling, We actually didn't see her again. I think she quit. She just didn't come back. I don't really know what happened. Some people just quit halfway through, but I think as I said with my last point, never give up. But also don't move at the position of attention. It's like seen as a disrespect. It's called your military bearing, that you can really hold yourself for those amount of minutes to stand so still. They'll teach you over there, but just do not move whatever you do. Your finger, your anything, don't, unless it's you're breathing, unless it's you blinking, your face is forward, your body is straight, nothing moves. 4, don't talk in the stairwells. Whatever you do, do not talk unless it is nighttime, quiet hours, and you have no sergeants. But don't talk in the stairwells. Pretty much that sums everything up. Just, you'll get yelled at and asked, do you have any military bearing? Also, you might get your 341 pulled. 341s are their little point system they have over, not a point system, whatever you want to call it, of how to discipline you. It's like you get like a paper that says you broke a rule, and you don't want to get that in BMT. Don't get on a little streak because people are going to tend to like be like, oh, she has a lot on her record, like I want to stay away from her. Especially if you get one pulled the first day, you have this image already. Number 5 on my list is things that get people recycled. Recycled is kind of like a way of saying that you're getting held back another week, or if you really do something wrong, they'll just dismiss you from the military. That's it. Like, good luck, pack your bags. They have more recruits coming in bi-weekly, and someone else can easily take your spot because clearly you didn't want it enough is how they see it. Things that get people recycled is not meeting the bare minimum on their PT test, not really focusing, and just not preparing themselves well enough before BMT to just get their endurance up, their running up, their push-ups up, and their sit-ups. We did push-ups, sit-ups, and running, and a lot of people got recycled for that, not being able to meet the standards. So my main focus is definitely work out before you get there. Look up the standards. I'll look it up for you guys or post it in the below, but definitely work on that. You can also get a waiver from your recruiter if you're like 40 plus to join the military. So, but you have to be able to perform the standards like everyone else, whether it's a PT test to everything, like absolutely everything. There are a lot of stairs when it comes to Disneyland. It is better housing, I guess. People have this like thing about Disneyland and Alcatraz. I got in BMT on Mother's Day and graduate on July 2nd, but I definitely was in Disneyland. You'll know the difference, and I know in every YouTube video everyone says you'll know the difference of Disneyland and BMT. I mean, Disneyland and Alcatraz. Disneyland is where I was at, but it was just a lot nicer. It looks prettier, but it has its pros and cons, while Alcatraz also has its pros and cons. Yes, it's older, but it does have some benefits of it being older. What else? Oh yeah, another thing that can get you recycled is not studying enough for this end of course test. So after BMT, you take something called an EOC. You'll need to study for that. There's a book given to you right when you arrive, and you want to study that, because if you don't meet a minimum of 75, you will get recycled. It's just showing that you didn't take your studying as seriously. And some people aren't really good test takers. You gotta just study. It's basic information, but a lot of it coming to you at once. And that's what makes it kind of rigorous, and it's really tedious, but you'll get over it. Everyone in my flight actually passed with an 84 and above. No one got a 75. Even if you do get a 75, you passed. What else? And then, eating in the dorms. Eating in the dorms, that will get you recycled so fast. You'll have people there, I mean, you can call them snitches or whatever, but you'll have people there who are like to the book. They're so scared, just like you. And there's leadership positions called like element leaders, dorm chief, and not a leadership position, but there's one called chow runner, and people who just lead the chow lines, but they're held at a higher standard, and it looks good on your, what is it called? It's like a little report card you get at the end of every thing you do. So tech school, BMT, at the end of every course or thing you go through in the military, you get a little report card, and it looks good on your report saying that you were an element leader, you were a dorm chief. But don't be leadership hungry. It will come to you if it comes to you. Always look to be a better wingman and look to be better in the military, but don't look as it as like a leadership hungry position. Like, that is how you do not, basically, don't be leadership hungry. A true leader, really, it comes from deep in their heart that they want to improve people and they want to improve themselves. If you're leadership hungry, it shows. Like, MTIs will know that, like, they're for themselves and not for their team. But basically, for that being said, what else? Just don't eat in the dorms, because those people, when you eat in the dorms, they're held at a higher standard, as I just said. So they will report you to your MTI. And a girl got recycled for bringing peanut butter into the room, because they have little tiny peanut butter cups in the DFAC. It's a place you eat, or like your cafeteria, whatever, and they call it the DFAC. And she brought it up in her room, and someone saw her eating it and recycled back a week and a half, possibly even 2, depending on how lenient your MTI is. Lenient, they're not really lenient. And then someone else ate an MRE in the room and stuff like that. Not gonna lie, ask my whole entire flight, I was that person. I was that person who brought the peanut butter cups into the room. That was me, loud and proud. Actually not proud, but you just get so hungry. You have time frames where you get to like eat, and eat. Do not get washed back from passing out, because the day that happens is because, oh no, I don't want to eat this. It's not what I normally eat. I'm not used to eating 3 times a day. None of us are. None of us were used to eating 3 times a day, but eat. It's like when you get those time frames to eat, it's kind of having discipline to be able to hold yourself for those amount of hours, not eating and then eating when you're told to, because you basically sleep when you're told to, eat when you're told to, do things when you're told to. The cafeteria is a different story. It really is. What is another thing you need to know? You can get a waiver to join for your age. Oh, don't mess up at chow. Let's go into chow now. Chow is another way of the military saying eat time to eat. Chow, you don't want to mess up anything. That's where you will get the most amount of sergeants, or your instructors. Your military training instructors is what an MTI stands for. That's where you will get yelled. That's where you will get yelled at the most. And I pray for you if you're ever a chow runner, but you can look at it as a positive or negative kind of way. Look at it more as a positive way. I actually volunteered, and people will say that's super stupid. Like, why would you volunteer to be a trail runner? But it is the way you better yourself as an individual faster, because you automatically get that yelling out of the way. Like, people tend to really cry when they get yelled at by the MTIs, but if you're a trail runner, you get out of that so quick. Like, you're gonna learn for the next 2 months, you're gonna be getting yelled at constantly, day and night, day and night. No matter if they're in a good mood or in a bad mood, you're gonna get yelled at. Chow runners get brutally yelled at, like screamed at by 5 different MTIs. Let's say things you need to know. There is a specific formation for Disneyland. I don't know about Alcatraz. Alcatraz had it very different from us, but I know for Disneyland, when you have chow runners, they have to like do something like this and tell you like where to go, where to sit, and stuff like that. But you need to follow it and go a certain way. Like, you can't cut around seats. They'll tell you, you go this way, loop around this way, dump your tray this way, and out. And you only have, I'm telling you, like less than 10 minutes to eat. Your first like week there, first 3 weeks there, actually, man, I'm gonna say your first week or 2 weeks there, you're gonna eat chow in 5 minutes. Like, you won't even feel hungry. You're so just like amped. You have to sidestep while getting your food. So you have your tray like this, and you, like, I don't know how to explain it, but you sidestep, tell the cafeteria, the DFAC lady, the lunch lady basically, eggs ma'am, thank you ma'am, peas ma'am, thank you ma'am, this ma'am, thank you ma'am. Go along, get your food, sidestepping, like side, and then finally you get to the end, you meet your chow runner, and the chow runner either says, back ma'am, oh back ma'am, thank you ma'am, or back sir, thank you sir, and we'll tell you to go back or front. So that means you either sit in the front of the table or the back of the table, and you respond, back ma'am, thank you ma'am, or if he's a boy, chow runner, you say, back sir, thank you sir. But you have to respond that. If you don't, and there's an instructor right there, you will get yelled at. What do you say? What do you say to the chow runner? Back sir, thank you sir. Or if she's a woman, back ma'am, thank you ma'am. You got to make sure that you say that correctly before you sit down. And as you're ready to sit down, you stand for 3 seconds at the position of attention. It's showing your military bearing that you can if I'm wrong about this, you can correct me in the comment section. You stand for 3 seconds to give respect to the people who are not able to eat, that are in like POWs, prisoner of war camps, and basically that they're starving right now. And so you give those respect for 3 seconds while standing at a position of attention, looking straight forward, and then you sit down. You have to stand up, otherwise you will get yelled at. I always prayed before I ate. I try to remember at least. Sometimes you're so just everywhere and just getting yelled at, you forget. But try and remember if you're religious. Yeah, always hold your tray with 2 hands, and as soon as you sit down, yes, you can take off your mask, but the moment you stand up, you need to put on your mask. No matter what you're doing, put on your mask. I think BMT was a little bit more difficult during the coronavirus because of the whole mask situation. When you were running, you were wearing your mask. Unless your MTI told you, you can lower your mask. You can ask, obviously, if you can't breathe, but you got your 341 pulled, chewed out, like completely, if you were not wearing your mask. Wherever you're doing, you wear your mask. You do not want to risk getting COVID or getting other people COVID, because you're coming from all different states. You do not want to risk that. Turns out I actually was one of the flights that someone tested positive for COVID, which sent me and a couple of other people to this quarantine for 2 weeks, where you like get tested again and then see if you have it, but that person tested positive, and it was a different experience. I had a very different experience because of the whole COVID situation and basically going to quarantine for 2 weeks. always just follow the flow of traffic in the chow hall, basically. Um, oh, even till the end in the beginning of BMT, they never let you talk. Do not talk during chow. Even when you graduate, maybe they'll give you, maybe like the last day, they'll give you a little bit of like where you can whisper something. They'll see you and they won't say anything, but I doubt it. I very much doubt it. Just don't talk. Just have military bearing. Don't talk. Um, I remember when we also, like, from week 1 to week 3, we were wearing PT gear, which is like the outfit we wear to like work out. And somewhere between 3 and 4, I was actually at PY, which is where you go into quarantine, and you get this uniform. You earn this uniform, and it was the most monumental moment. I can't even explain the feeling of when you got this uniform and switching from PT gear to this and earning this uniform and earning the hat and just being able to wear it. I think a really monumental moment also in BMT is when we were ready to get our shots, and we get this one called the peanut butter shot. We get another one called, I don't know, you just line up and they shoot 2 needles. You walk, shoot 2 needles, not walk, shoot 2 needles. You can't say anything, don't even wince, just get on with it. And if you're bleeding, they'll give you a little like paper towel, wipe it, and continue walking. The peanut butter shot hurt your butt. It won't hurt at the moment, at least for me it didn't. It hurt like the soreness afterwards because like the fibers of your muscle, it's being torn by that needle. Especially if you tense up and you're scared, it will tear more. So just don't tense up, just relax, get the shot done with, walk out. The guys complained the most, actually. The guys who cried, guys were the ones that cried the most over women. But a moment that I remembered, especially while I was getting those shots, was we were still wearing our PT gear, and we looked to our side, crisscross applesauce, waiting for paperwork to come out. Waiting for paperwork to come out, and there was a flight of just like, I don't know, maybe like 70 people marching, singing jodies. Like, you'll know what a jodie is when you get there. It's just kind of like a marching cadence that you do to keep in step and, sing in a way. It's your only chance of really talking while marching. And seeing them in their full OCPs while I'm in my PT gear. And I think they were ready to graduate in a week, and just knowing that we just started and that in 7 weeks we'll be in that position. It was just absolutely just, I don't even know, it was a reminder of why you should be there, why you should stay there, and continue your journey. And it's like, wow, like, I'm going to get there. And it was just your goal to set for yourself. And I almost cried looking at them just marching in their uniforms, knowing that my friends and family are going to see me in that uniform. And nonetheless, 7.5, 8 weeks, 8.5 weeks. It was something to really keep me going throughout the whole entire BMT process. What is another thing? Ooh, never forget your hat. So you're gonna be in such a rush in the morning and everything, especially when you get dressed in nonetheless, I think 4 minutes. And you have your MTI pounding on the door, open up, open up, open up. And you cannot forget, roll your hat, well, however they told you to fold it. Rolled it, fold it in your pocket the night before, and have it ready, because the amount of times that we have dashed through the door and gotten ready in 4 minutes, dashed out the door, getting ready to do whatever they needed us to do that day, and forgetting your hat, because at no point are you outside without your OCP. This is called an OCP hat. You cannot be outside without that hat. And if you were, and you told your sergeant, I forgot it, oh my god, I'm so sorry. That is scary. That's a scary moment for sure. But you'll get in a lot of trouble, but you have to get a wingman to go upstairs with you, and another, just get your OCP hat. You'll probably get chewed out and remembered like that for the rest of the day or week. But another thing, never, and I mean absolutely never forget, is your reporting statement. It is, because you're not an airman yet, until you get to tech school, you can say airman, but for right now, while you're in BMT, you say Sir or ma'am, whatever gender your sergeant is, airman, oh, sorry, I almost said mine. Sir or ma'am, trainee Gutierrez reports as ordered. No matter what conversation you're having and someone also reports with another reporting statement and they ask a really urgent question and it redirects to you, you have to still give your reporting statement to redirect the conversation to yourself. No matter what you're doing, you're knocking on the office or talking to any sergeant, you say, Sir, ma'am, trainee, your last name, reports as order. Don't forget that anytime. It's a sign of respect. You're not at their level yet. They don't see you as an equal yet. It is, you are still below them. You are sharks and minnows. You are the minnows, whatever. And bottom of the food chain, you need to talk to them with a certain level of respect. And that's by giving your reporting statement. While you're marching, they're going to teach you how to march. Some people look kind of weird when they're marching, especially like their first week. The 0 week, even till like the last week of BMT, people did not perfect it. But you want to try and get it spot on. Never move unless they say cover. If your MTI who's teaching you how to march does not say cover and you're at the position of attention and let's say like you're lined up with someone directly in front of you and you look like this, do not move like this to get in line unless your MTI says cover. I cannot stress that to you enough because on the day of graduation, a woman moved and she was like this and some MTI said, why are you so spread out from the individual in front of you? And she was like, oh, sorry, Sergeant, and moved like this. You don't move. That was like a trick question or something. Unless the person who's leading your marching says cover. That means short, choppy steps to get in line with the person so it like looks like that. Just moving your feet, nothing else. You're just little tiny, short, choppy steps. You'll learn that, trust me. Even when standing on the... Okay, that's another thing you guys need to know. It's like... Oh! Getting lightweight boots. And this is my last and final thing I have to say on things you need to know for BMT. Lightweight boots. Invest in the future if you can. People weren't given the privilege to have lightweight boots unless you had like really bad shin splints and they would take like a little like MRI of it to see if you actually had shin splints. But the boots they give you at BMT, they're gonna give you some blisters. They even give you a couple of days to really break into your boots, so you'll switch from actual running shoes to your boots, for about like 4 days. They're supposed to give you a week, but just 4 days you're given to really break into your boots. But you'll get the worst foot cramps, the worst blisters of your life. The first week at BMT especially is the most soreness you'll have in your muscles in your entire life because you're always in this position and so tight. You don't want to mess up that you're just like not even breathing sometimes. Remember, breathe. You don't want to pass out. Don't lock your knees too much. You'll pass out. You'll just be the most sore in your entire life, especially when you first get issued your boots. That's the most like your feet are just crying of pain, especially running up the stairs so much, going back and forth, marching. Your feet are going to look ugly. Trust me, after BMT, get your pedicure, or after tech school, get your pedicure for sure. Let's see. Yeah, get your pedicure for sure, but I 10 out of 10 recommend getting lightweight boots after possibly tech school or something like that. Try and get your other wingman to massage you, whether it's your back, your feet, your legs. Some people aren't feet people, but get someone to massage you. It will help out a lot and make a huge difference through your performance throughout the whole BMT. I mean, you'll survive if you don't get a massage. It just really helps others. I was actually the person in my flight that gave almost everybody a massage. I learned previously just from getting a lot of sports massages, deep tissue massages. I just learned myself and also did a lot of sports, so I had to learn how to give myself massages, especially learn how to like get knots out of your muscle. you could use like lotion and stuff like that. But besides BMT and everything you basically have to know, yes, you'll get yelled at a lot, but the things I recommend that you do is definitely get to know the women you're going in with. You're going to be with them for, I don't know how long, like 2.5 months. And I recommend seriously getting to know everybody's story. I'm a person who likes to know where you came from, what are your upbringings, what made you the person you are today. It's just something I love to learn about a person, because everyone's so different, and you can see that by the way they act, the way they carry themselves. Like, why is the person so uptight? Why does the person always strive to be so excellent? Why does this person always do this certain way, or why do they talk this way? And it really shows in their background and when you get to know them. And you'll learn from other people, and if you let them speak to you, which is such a great thing to do with your other peers that you're going to be living with for 2.5 months, is know their background. There was a woman in there, and she had said her story. I asked, and it brought about me and 10 other girls to tears. And what made her join the Air Force? Why did you join the Air Force? And she told her entire like sexual assault story, and what really was her aha moment of why she had to join the Air Force. And absolutely just inspiring that you can come from so much and really still want to motivate yourself to be a better person. And if you looked at every individual in the room, you would never know their story and their background and what they came from, and all the trials and tribulations that they overcame just to be at this exact moment that you are at. And even if your story is not as, sad or this like crazy story, your story is your story, and you should never forget that, of why you came there. And that's something that you should really take upon yourself, is getting to know everyone you're with. If you come in with that mindset that I'm only here for myself and I'm not here for anyone else, I'm here to get out and move on and get on with my life, the Wingman Policy is stressed upon you so much. You do not travel anywhere, and I mean absolutely anywhere, without a wingman. You can get a 341 pulled, anything, just to avoid anything like with previous cases. Like, even if it was old cases, horror stories that's happened in BMT, you probably have heard, like sexual stuff. It's really having that Wingman Policy that you're never left alone, even with an instructor or with anyone, that you can rely on that wingman to help you out, to back you up, for supporting evidence, and just to know that you never leave a wingman behind. You'll have to memorize something called the Airman's Creed and the Air Force song, where I remember listening to that song at the beginning and just being like, how the hell am I going to remember this? This is too long. I'm not going to be able to remember that. And they give you some type of thing called memory work, where you have to remember every sergeant, every commander that you're under, your whole entire wing, and you'll get quizzed randomly by a random sergeant. It could be your own or a random one, quizzing you on this information. And they'll ask you in front of everyone, and if you don't know the answer, you're done. I'm so sorry. You'll get possibly your 341 pulled if you sound like terrible. But just know your work. You're not gonna, it's at the end of the day, this is just the start of your Air Force career. It's not the end of the world. You'll get through it, but come in there with a positive mindset. I think that's it for now. It was a pretty long video. I was hoping to make this really short, but there's just a lot and things to go in depth about that I really wanted you guys to know. And sorry if it's long. You can skip through it if you want, but I thought this was really essential information if you really want to know, and I really want to go in depth with you guys. But I also want to include, definitely leave some comments if you want me to do a next video. This is my first one. I'll take great criticism. Good criticism is amazing. You guys have a good day.